Alright, pretty exciting round 1, and now we have a pretty sweet hand for round 2. So things could obviously go horribly wrong. We could just brick on lands and die, but... Ooh, Blood-Soaked Champion. Mardu, perhaps? Like my hand, I feel like we have a pretty good shot to get there. Yeah, looks like it is Mardu. So things to be scared of include main deck Hushwing Griff. That's always a pretty frustrating one to play against because it shuts down a lot of our good cards, such as the Siege Rhinos that I seem to be accumulating. So come on. Alright, so we hit. Do we want to start deploying coursers or make sure that we're able to play a Rhino if we hit another land? I think it is just Courser because Courser gives us more shots at actually hitting white sources and could potentially stabilize us. So I think it's a fairly easy Llanowar Wastes. Could certainly see an argument for the other side of things, but I think probably the surest way to lose is to just not play a spell next turn. And if he attacks, I'm definitely blocking. And I actively hope he attacks as well. But if this is a Rabble Master, then we're in trouble. Okay. So I would have blocked the Blood-Soaked Champion just for tempo reasons, but now I think I want to block the Goblin to make sure his Rabble Master is not a 4-2 next turn. Maybe that's silly, considering if he kills my first Courser, then he's going to be able to attack through anyway. And if he can't kill my Courser, I don't really mind trading. But I don't know, I still think this is better. Just try and keep the Rabble Master contained. So there's our temple, but we can't afford to play that really. There's a cut, so that's fantastic. It's definitely one of the cards I wanted to see. Aside from, you know, Plains. Plains would be great. But if I get Crackling Doomed here, it's going to be an issue. Rats. This guy's just giving me the beatdowns. So I'm at 6. And I think I just have to play Courser and try and hit an untapped land. I think that gives me the best chance of winning. So I could cut something, but I'm still taking 3 damage. If I play Temple and cut his Rabble Master, I'm going to be at 3, so I'd be dead to any sort of Butcher or whatever. This way, I could actually live through a Butcher. I don't think I could win the game because I'd be at 1 and I'd Rhino up to 4 and then just die anyway. So maybe I just can't beat Butcher, period. So this allows me to beat Lightning Strike. I don't think I can beat Doom or Butcher, but yeah, I think this gives me the best chance. There's a Heath, so that's basically exactly what we wanted. And more Rhinos. So if we get to untap, I like our spot. If not, things are going to be tough. Oh, I need a thing. There we go. Need to make sure I had a stop before combat. Definitely did not want him to get an extra Goblin. I guess I can live through Butcher. I just have to cut it instead of the rabble. But if he has like a Sarkin... Alright, so he sacks the champ. And now I just have to let him get a goblin because I have to cut the butcher. And I'm more than fine trading with Rabblemaster here. Yeah, I think I have to do that. See how great Urborg is? It's so great. So now we're going to 4, but back up to 7. Definitely don't need this Reaper because I already have a bunch of 4-mana 4/5s. I think I'm just going like Rhino into Whip, and we might actually be stable. Unless he has something like another Butcher. Soren's whatever. I do think I have to attack down his Soren. And then I could see the Unwritten here for 2 things, but I could really use the buffer from another Rhino, because if I don't find... I can't find a flyer, so I would, in order to not die to a Butcher, I'd have to find another Rhino, which is very unlikely considering I have them all. So I think I just want to play another Rhino, get that life boost, and then maybe just play a Whip next turn to gain 8 life. And then hope he doesn't have something like a Bile Blight. What do we have here? Okay, so he's going to play the champ. Oh, Brain Maggot. Cool. It's a sweet card. So he just took my other Rhino. Interesting. Okay, so now I can play Whip and a Caryatid, which is great. So I think I just want to play Whip and attack with both. And then I go up to 15. And he's at 6, and my trample is super live. And yeah, this should be good. I think we're doing it. So here's another Rabblemaster. I don't think that's going to be good enough, though. Seems like a pretty easy chump here. Take the other 6 down to 9 and should be dead, yeah. Cool. So our opponent's draw was really strong, and we still managed to come away with that with the win. So I definitely like that. And this matchup is kind of similar to the Abzan aggro, in that you want a bunch of early removal and the Wingmate rocks and whatnot, and things like Freaka and Sage are not good. Freaka is a little bit on the slow end, and since he has Bloodsoak Champion, I think he has Bile Blight main deck instead of Chain of the Rocks. They're like more of a black-based deck, so Sage actually doesn't have any targets. And then I played against this deck in the PTQ that I played in, and I kept in some of the caryatids just because the acceleration is actually still good, even though I have all this removal, and Glare doesn't kill their small things, it mostly just kills their big things. So See the Unwritten is probably too slow. Still think Whip is pretty good. I'm pretty worried about either Stormbreath Dragon or Sarkin. Certainly more worried about Stormbreath, and I think they're more likely to have that. But I don't think there's any way I can really configure my deck to be better against that, except for like bringing in a couple Thoughtseizes, which I kind of want to do anyway. Doomwake is still pretty good because he has stuff like Rabblemaster. You saw Brain Maggot, the Bloodsoaked Champion. I do think there are going to be some Hushwing Griffs, so Doomwake is not great, and there might also be things like Erase. I could see a second Glare also if I see Hushwing Griff, but I think Thoughtseize is better against Griff. But I still need to cut 2 cards, and I'm not sure what they're going to be. Suppose I can cut some Wayfinders if in anticipation of him having Griff, but they're still pretty good against the Bloodsoaked Champion. But for the most part, I would rather have Caryatid, I think. So maybe I should... maybe I should cut a Wayfinder, keep the 3rd Caryatid, and then maybe cut the other Wayfinder for a Thoughtseize or a Glare. Sideboarding's tough. I think we'll just keep it like this. A little bit more on the high end than I would want to be, ideally, but kind of need all those big cards. So we have Bile-Blight and no double black, so it's kind of rough, but we also have a lot of black sources. And our hand is pretty good otherwise. If we get to cast this Bile-Blight by turn 3, I think we're in good shape. And there's a temple. So now we're pretty well set up, I think. And Downfall on top sounds good to me. So now we have 3 removal spells in a row, or removal into Reaper. Brain Maggot's kind of annoying. Would expect him to take Bile-Blight here because it takes me off curve, and then if he has a Rabblemaster to follow it up, that's pretty powerful. And he took a Whip, actually. Interesting. So I don't mind Bile-Blighting this Brain Maggot. That seems strange to just take Whip, especially when I show removal. Yeah, I'm just gonna kill this thing. So we drew another temple, but I want to keep them in Downfall. Don't want to get rabbled. And we can play the temple on turn 5 just fine. So I would generally lead Rhino instead of Reaper, because he could have Hushwing Griff, and you generally want to play Reaper when you can also protect it from removal. It would have to be a very weird circumstance, I think, to play Reaper instead. I was completely fine just playing Reaper that turn, but now that I drew a Rhino, I don't think I have to. Yeah, so doom that thing away, don't really care. Ooh, Soul of Theros. It's a big card. Rhino, I'll keep that. And I think we kept our opponent off balance long enough. Now he's kind of stumbling, and we get to start deploying threats. So I like our spot. Obviously, it's pretty scary if he rattles off like 2 lands in a row and just plays a bunch of Stormbreath Dragons. But maybe we can race with Whip and Reaper. So here I would not be surprised. He doomed main phase, which was kind of weird last time. I would not be surprised if he had a Hushwing Gryff here. Could also just have another Crackling Doom. But yeah, I'm anticipating a Hushwing Gryff. And I could certainly try and play around that, but I don't think there's really a big point to that, just because I'm still putting a 4/5 into play, which is pretty good, and that's basically what I want. So yeah, he does Gryff me, and that's just not a big deal. Okay, so now I have a choice. I can sack my Rhino and scry, and or I can sack the Reaper, keep my Rhino, which tramples, and tramples pretty nice. He's got a bunch of little dorky dudes. So I'm gonna keep the Rhino. Might be wrong. You could certainly follow it up with another removal spell, in which case I would rather have the Reaper. Oops, I was not supposed to attack there, but I should have played Whip there. But I'm also fine making this play, which is to just utter end whatever creature he plays, or potentially his Gryff. I'm not gonna utter end that. Yeah, ideally I would have played Whip on a turn where I could gain 4 life off it, and now he has the potential for a race mana, but it would be weird if he had a race, because he could have played Champion off the Malice, and now if he has a race he would have to take a damage, so I don't think he has it. And if I get to connect here and gain the 4 life, that should be game. But he does actually have the erase, so just a slight mistapping there. Maybe that was, you know, him trying to trap me or whatever, but it's basically a mistake. I should probably have 4 life if I didn't click through my main phase a couple turns ago. So he's got 4 cards left, and he's able to deal with this Rhino. I could be in trouble, but now he's at 1, and I have this Trampler, which is a pretty big deal, but if he plays a Butcher this turn, we just trade straight up. But I do get to play a Soul, and it can be pretty tough for them to beat a Soul. No Chain to the Rocks. So even if he does kill it, I have the graveyard value. Alright, so we draw a Courser. I'm definitely going to play Soul this turn. It's just a matter of whether or not I want to trade with his Butcher or not. I'm kind of concerned about him gaining 5 life and also attacking me with it. I don't really want to take the 5 damage. But if I offer the trade here, he can still sack the champ to gain 5 life if he thinks he wants that. But if I play Soul, and even if he kills the Soul, next turn I'm going to be able to attack Rhino into the Butcher and make a favorable trade. But I still think I would rather just trade off this turn. Because even if he kills a Soul, I have the Courser as a follow-up. And then the Courser potentially represents lethal if he doesn't gain life here. And he is going to sack his champ, so that makes sense. So we're doing pretty good, but he's doing a good job of getting back in it. And maybe that 4 life cost us, or maybe we were supposed to wait until we had 8 mana to actually play Whip to get value out of it. So now if this is a Stormbreath Dragon, this could be trouble, because then we just sit at each other. 2 Lightning Strike Bile Blight, okay. So, like I said, not a lot of good ways to deal with Soul. He had a way. Those cards aren't very good against me, though. So, kind of strange to see those in his deck post-board. But maybe he thought I was Abzan aggro? That would make more sense. So our top decks have not been super kind. But Thoughtseize might actually help. If he doesn't play anything this turn... Okay, so he has a Griff. Depending on what he does this turn, I could see Thoughtseizing first to make sure the coast is clear for me to actually use Soul. But he drew a Murderous Cut, so that's unfortunate. So now we have a game here. This is a pretty real game. My Thoughtseize is very dead. Definitely don't want that land. There were a lot of points where I thought we were in good shape, but our opponent's done a pretty good job of stabilizing. Now I can return the Bloodsoaked Champion and up my clock. And there's an Anafenza, so... Question is, do we Thoughtseize first to clear the way? And I think we have to. Would not be surprised if my opponent just had a land. Yep. Now, do I play this land? Or do I save it for a potential Courser? Find it very unlikely that I will need this land, so... even if I draw something like a Soul of Theros, I won't be able to play and use it in the same turn. Okay. Oh, we did draw Soul of Theros, so that's cool. And now I think our opponent is in Chump Block mode. That's great. That means the Soul is very likely to live. And then he has 2 lethal threats that he has to deal with on his next turn. And it is very unlikely that the Bloodsoaked Champion deck is siding in hostilities. So, I think I win. And excellent. So, 2 pretty difficult matchups, and I win them both. So, I really like this configuration. I really like what this deck is doing. And yeah, I've just been very, very pleased with this. And as of right now, I'm not sure what changes I would make. Just maybe change the removal suite around to be a little bit better against Stormbreath Dragon. But right now, I like this deck a lot.